stage, Lewis Garnham.
You good? Fuck yeah, me too. Wow, this is cool. This feels really cool. This feels special. You don't get to film a special that often, you know, so it is, pardon the pun, it's a special night. So thank you so much for coming down, for being involved. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be in Melbourne. Happy to be at Max Watts, like right in the centre of Melbourne. And just Melbourne generally, I've been away and I felt a bit homesick. I just got back from America. Felt homesick in America because people there are too animated. I was trying to buy a smoothie one day in Brooklyn. A guy came in. While he was ordering his smoothie, he was dancing. Seriously, like full on, you know? Like, yeah, let's get some antioxidants. Oh, woo, oh, you got ginger? Let's get ginger. Like, you feeling it? He's like going over to people. You feeling it, bro? You feeling it? Woo, you feeling it? And I felt so alone because, like, obviously, like all of us, I was like, shut up, man, in my head. But everyone else in this cafe is like, whoa, I am feeling it, bro. Whoa, yeah, this guy's got a good energy, doesn't he? Imagine doing that at a cafe here. Imagine the Melbourne barista. What are you doing, man? You're being weird. When I order a coffee here, I feel like I'm in the way. Sorry, can I have an oat latte? Apologising as you order. Sorry, can I have one sugar? I'm really sorry. My bad, sorry. Thank you, sorry. Recently, I saw a man staring at a tree. And it took me by surprise. I was in a city, the city of Adelaide. I saw this guy just standing there, staring at a tree. And I feel like in my life, I'm so distracted, so not there in any moment that I'm in. I'm so somewhere else that when I'm out in the world, I see someone just having a nice, still moment. It's so foreign to me that it actually freaks me out. I saw this guy staring at the tree. I nearly called the cops. Truly, I was listening to a true crime podcast at the time. I was like, that guy's the fucking killer for sure. I nearly spear tackled this bloke. Because I'm always in script mode. Like when I'm out in the world, I'm not having authentic moments, you know, I'm not having proper conversations. I'm not listening to what the other person says and then responding accordingly. I'm just doing a script so much of the time. I realised recently, like, so much of my life is spent in that script mode, just having rehearsed interactions. I know my lines, they know all their lines. Usually you don't realise, like you could do a whole day in script mode, not even realise it. You usually don't realise it until the other person randomly goes off script. Out of nowhere, no warning. I got in an Uber the other night. I was like, hey mate, busy night? He goes, yeah, pretty busy. I see you're wearing a Patagonia shirt. People say that's an ethical brand, but I'm not convinced. What the fuck script is this guy doing? I didn't get sent this version, brother. He's doing The Sopranos. I'm doing fucking reruns of Home and Away. I felt out of my depth. It's 3 a.m, I'm holding a kebab. I'm not ready for the Patagonia ethics chat, man. I want to be off script. I want to be just having those real moments, those real interactions. But there are certain environments where it's better to stick to the script. Like I have a day job. I work at a school when I'm not doing this. I'm not teaching. I'm a teacher's aide. I'm like in the classroom helping certain kids. And sometimes you slip out of the mode that you're supposed to be in, and it's not that good. I was sitting at the back of the room next to a year 9 student, right? I've been working with this kid for a few years, so I'm really invested. I'm really backing him. He put his hand up in class, answered a question. It's quite a big deal for him because he's quite socially anxious. And it was a beautiful answer as well. Teacher said, why is school important? Or some shit like that. And he said, it's important because you can learn things, but you can also make friends at school. Yeah, and in the silence of that classroom, much like the silence that we're in right now, at this volume, I went, fuck yeah, Benji. Which you're not supposed to do. I don't know if you know much about working in schools. It's strongly discouraged to do that sort of shit. I like working with kids because they don't have a script yet, you know? They don't know what they should and shouldn't say. They just say weird shit. They're honest, Like young kids, like little kids, they don't care if you get offended. They just speak with pure honesty. I was talking to a girl at the school the other day. She's 8 years old, right? She was trying to ask me how old I am. I could tell that's the question she's trying to construct. But she kept fucking up the wording of it. It was really cute. She's like, at what month is the number of your days? She had a few guys, she's like, at what year is the number of your birth? And then like she was fumbling around with it for ages, really thinking. And then eventually, truly, she looks at me and she just goes, when are you gonna die? Like in her heart of hearts, that's what the real question was, you know? Which maybe it is for all of us, if you think of it like that. I'm gonna start asking that at parties. Happy birthday, John, when are you gonna die? At the dog park, she's gorgeous. When do you reckon she'll die? That one's sadder, isn't it? Sadder to think about a dog than it is a human. That's weird. Interesting. It's good. It's weird, like, even that comment, I think about this a lot. Young kids don't really care that much about death. Like, the way they talk about it. They throw it around in conversation like it ain't no thing. Like, you go to a young kid, why shouldn't we run inside with scissors? Straight away, first answer, because you'll fall over, stab yourself in the gut, and die. They just go to that point really quickly. They talk about death like it's nothing. I feel like young kids and then really old people at the very end of their lives, very blasé about death. Like my grandpa, before he died, he said something to me I'll never forget. He was 95 years old. I went and visited him and he said to me, actually first he said, Lewis, I want to show you something. And he took me into his bathroom. I was like, I don't like that that's the setting. So you're showing me something, Grandpa? But then he pointed at the ground, right? He's like, have a look at that. I'm like, what am I looking at? He's like, have a look at that. Usually I get the packet of 24 toilet rolls, but this time I got the 12 pack because I figured it should probably see me out. That's morbid, isn't it? I respect it though, it's frugal. Also, what a fun guessing game to play at the end of your life. Isn't it crazy that that's what life amounts to? Like, that's what you're doing at the end of your life. Like, there's so much magic in your life, so much magic in the world. Like, you think about when you're a kid, everything's magic, isn't it? You know, you're growing up, you're like, whoa, so much magic. Is Father Christmas real? You get a bit older, you figure out how to do the swings in the playground without needing an adult to push you. That's magic. You get a bit older, you're a teenager, you try drugs for the first time. That's magic. You get a bit older, you leave school, you get a job, you get a bit tired, you stop seeing the magic as easily. It's a bit, you got to squint to see the magic. You keep working, you get sort of ground down, you're getting more and more tired. Some good things happen, of course. You fall in love, but after a while the magic dies. A few years later, so does she. And then at the end of your life, you find yourself just at the supermarket, 93 years old, aisle 12, just going, how many more shits am I going to take? I want to nail it. I want to nail my shit for sheet ratio because it's my last little game on this planet, my last slice of magic. And he died before COVID, my grandpa. I'm so glad that he didn't live to see COVID. That would have been a harder time for older individuals. Not only does the virus affect you disproportionately, you also have to watch much younger people greedily hoard the one thing that still brings you joy. But kids see the magic. That's what I like about working with kids. They don't struggle to see the magic at all. 5-year-old boy came up to me at the school. He held up a leaf. He'd picked up this leaf from the ground. He showed it to me. He said, isn't it funny? 5 years old. He said, isn't it funny? The leaves fall from the tree, but the leaves have a drawing of a tree on them. He showed it to me, and I've never thought about this, but the leaf has like these veins in it, like one vein down the middle, and then veins that shoot off like branches. It looks exactly like what a 5-year-old would draw as a drawing of a tree. And that's on every leaf. Leaves taking selfies. They're like taking, the trees taking selfies, dropping them around in order. This is a crazy, I think this is like one of the sad things about the education system, right? Is that this kid's not doing too well in school. But like, you should get like some sort of like a medal or like a certificate, some sort, like if you say something when you're 5 years old that then a week and a half later gets discussed by 3 30-year-old men on mushrooms for an hour and a half, you should get a prize, I think. That is impressive. I overthink things. Working at the school, I get worried about stuff. Like I get worried about the future of the world. I get worried about climate change. I've been freaking out about climate change so much. I've been so worried about it, I decided to stop it. Yeah, I did. I just thought, fuck it. It's gone on long enough. I'll jump in. And I have. I've been doing it. You've probably noticed. I have been doing it. The way I've been doing it, I've started using eco-friendly cigarette filters. I don't know exactly what they do, but they're eco-friendly. I figure if I smoke enough, I can turn this thing around. You know what I mean? You've probably noticed, you've probably been walking around, oh, the trees look greener, there's more birds around. That's me doing that. I'm having 80 darts a day. I can't walk up a flight of stairs, but I'm willing to do it. Just by a round of applause, does anyone else use eco-friendly cigarette filters? No wonder the reef's fucked. Come on, guys. Some of you are sitting there, you're thinking, oh, well, I don't even smoke. Well, start fucking smoking then. It's urgent. It's funny the shit we do, I reckon. Like, you know, I was thinking, like, if I have kids in the future, there'll be a moment, won't there? Like, if we keep going the way we're going, my kid's like 10, 12 years old, something like that, they'll say something, they'll ask, won't they? Hey, Dad, what did you do to stop it? When it was all kicking off, this climate change shit, what did you do to stop it? That's an awkward one, isn't it? I got this cup, Josh. It's like a normal coffee cup, but you can use it more than once. I actually had to buy a lot of those because I kept losing them, but it's still better. One time I was at a bar, I saw the bartender give a guy a plastic straw without even asking him if he wanted a straw. I was pretty coked up. I said, brother, don't do that. And yeah, that's it. Go to school, Josh. My friend said this to me. This is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. He said, you shouldn't use condoms because they're not biodegradable. Apparently, he said you shouldn't use condoms because they never break down. Eventually, they end up in the ocean. Fish end up choking on them and shit, so you shouldn't use them for that reason. I assume that doesn't work in the bedroom, that line. I doubt any of his sexual partners are like, fuck, you're such an environmentalist. Good point, take it off. But also, it's such an illogical argument because, like, think about the purpose of condoms. Think about what condoms achieve. Like, if humans are the ones causing ecological disaster, more condoms equals less humans. Condoms are the best thing for the environment, regardless of what they're made out of. Make them out of anything. Make them out of seals, whales, depleted uranium. Who gives a fuck? They'll always be the best thing for the environment because more condoms equals less humans. More condoms, if you think about it, eventually equals less condoms. So they're our best defense against themselves. If you want a world with less condoms, start wearing a fucking condom. Would be my advice. I like that joke, but I don't actually really stand by it. That joke implies that, like, we're all just the problem, right? It does, doesn't it? It's just like humanity, we're the problem, we fucked it up, we're fucking it up. It's not really what I believe. I believe there's like a very small amount of companies, corporations who are fucking it up, and then us as regular people, consumers, I don't think we are to blame. I think we're trying our best to survive. But I don't know how to make that funny, so I had to just... the other joke. The shit limitations of comedy, you know? You can't just say that. There has to be a laugh at the end, otherwise we're just, I don't know, we're at a rally or something. It's not, it's a different thing. That was a good I'm having an interaction with kids at the school that I work at that I've never had before. It's like a new thing for me. It's because of my, like, what the certain age that I am now, I'm having an experience I've never had before, right? When I say this thing, there'll be people that are older than me who are like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've had that conversation. There'll be people who are younger than me that are like, oh, I don't know what that feels like. All it is, right? It's just I've never experienced it before. When I talk to kids now, their version of history is shit that happened while I was alive. It's just a weird feeling. It's like, fuck, so now they're fascinated by things I can remember. Not the shit you'd expect that they want to hear about. I had a kid come up to me at work. He said to me, he was like, Lewis, when were you born? Which is a polite way of saying, when are you going to die? I said, 1995. And his eyes lit up. He got like the biggest look of excitement came over his face. He was like, oh. And this is truly what he said. He was like, oh my God. You must remember, you would have been around for, he would have been around for, you would remember the screaming goat. And I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about, man? And then he explained it to me, and when he explained it to me, I actually did remember. Some of you obviously remember. The screaming goat was one of the first viral YouTube videos, one of the first videos on YouTube to go massively viral. All it was a video of a goat standing in a paddock, and it just went, ah, ah. That's a perfect rendition, by the way. Google it tonight. You'll be like, fuck, he nailed that fucking screaming. You might remember this chapter in the saga. Some genius took the audio of the screaming goat and clipped it into a Taylor Swift song. So it was like, I knew you were trouble when you walked in. Now I'm lying on the cold, hard ground. And to this kid, that's a monumental moment in human history. He was so intrigued. He actually said, he was like, what was it like when it dropped? It was crazy, man. I wasn't gonna lie to him. I mean, we all remember it was fucking hectic, wasn't it? It was intense. It was actually dangerous. It got out of hand. Everyone just running through the streets. Do you remember that day? Oh my God. Pandemonium. People lying in the middle of the road reenacting it. Now I'm lying on the cold, hard ground. I've actually lived through some pretty significant shit, mate. Major historical moments, you know? I saw heaps of shit. I saw the double rainbow dude. I saw succulent meal or whatever. I remember when Charlie bit the other one on the finger. I've seen heaps of shit. Genuinely, though, I actually have, you know? I remember Corey Worthington's party. I remember when Hot Dogs turkey slapped that woman on Big Brother. To me, it feels like just yesterday that guy on A Current Affair was like, rah, 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 rah. That's my screaming goat, man. That guy was barking like a dog on TV before the screaming goat was a glint in the algorithm's eye, brother. I got a bit sad about it. I went home that night. I was like, as if that's what this kid wants to know about. Of all the historical moments that I've been alive for, that's what he's fascinated in. It made me misanthropic. I was like, that's a sad thing. And then I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe I'm not giving it enough credit. Let's check, you know? Maybe it's better than I remember. Maybe I've misremembered it. So I Googled it. It's exactly the same. It's more exactly the same than I thought it could be, the screaming goat. And then I got a bit obsessed. I don't know if you do this sometimes. Like, I got into a bit of a rabbit hole. I wanted to find out who posted it for some reason. I was like, who posted the original screaming goat clip? You know, it went so viral. Who uploaded it? Found out it was a kid in Europe, right? Teenager in Europe. He posted the video. But then I found out it's not even a real video. This blew my mind. This kid, right, he's just mucking around. He took a video that already existed of a goat, right? That was already online. And then he just downloaded it, muted the audio, and then he got one of his mates or something to go, He re-uploaded that, and then everyone in the whole world was like, how funny is this goat? And at the time, all these animal experts, vets and scientists went online and said to everyone, hey everyone, just so you know, that's not a goat making that noise. Goats can't make that noise. It's definitely not a goat. And everyone in the whole world just went, fuck off, it is a goat. We want it to be a goat, so it is a goat. And now we all think of it as a goat. I started thinking, maybe this was a more impactful moment than I gave it credit for. We live in a world now where truth doesn't matter as much as it used to. Reality, facts, these things matter less and less. Politicians lie openly. They don't even pretend like they're not lying. Countries commit war crimes. People are like, that's a war crime. They're like, we didn't do it. But there's footage of you doing it. Yeah, well, we still didn't do it. Maybe the screaming goat was the birth of the post-truth era. That was the moment, as a society, we decided it doesn't matter if it's real, it doesn't matter if it's a goat or not, fact or fiction, truth or reality or not, it doesn't matter. That Taylor Swift remix, that's like the anthem of misinformation. This is what I realised. So I went back into school the next day, I went straight up to that kid. I was like, mate, I'm so sorry I laughed at you. You're absolutely right. That was a pivotal cultural moment, and I said to him, I said, fucking well done you for noticing that. And he was like, he's quite young, he was like, oh my God, you just swore. And I was like, no, I didn't. And he was like, you did, I heard you. And I was like, well, you're being anti-Semitic. Because if all else fails, you know. Like it. I like talking about the screaming goat. When you mention the screaming goat, you get a reaction. I think the reaction that you get when you first mention it is generally people the same age as me. This is what I've realised. It's like, if you're probably the same age as me, you probably remember the screaming goat clearly. I've got like a few little tests that I can see to see if like an audience is like, if there's people that are the same age as me. This is the main one. I'll do this now, and if you're the same age as me, you'll know what to do. I hope. Jordie's like a melody in my head that I can't keep out. Got me singing that. Thank you so much, guys. Every time I do that, I do have a moment where I'm like, fuck, how much will it suck if no one says anything? So thanks for doing that. I appreciate that. I think that test works because if you sung back just then, you're probably a teenager when that came out, that song. That's when like we hear music the most, I think. And for us, for the people that just sung back just then, that song was huge, but our huge songs are quite unique. Our big songs from our era, right? They lived and they died in the space of 6 weeks. No other generation has this. Our songs, they came out like that song, and they just came out replay, and we just play it all over, like a fucking replay. Play it 6 weeks, we smashed it, best song ever, and then the 6 weeks ended, and they never got played again. Ever. You never walk into a cafe now and hear fucking, if 10 million fireflies lit up the fucking... It's never happened, never will happen. It's just weird. Other generations, they go back, they critique their music, they analyse it. No one's ever going to be on an analytical radio station going, yeah, John, this is where Jason Derulo really found his sound. Jason Derulo. So he says his name at the start of the song, shows a point of real self-reflection present in his art. He's aware of what his name is, John. What you say? A few ways you could interpret it, John. Maybe she didn't hear him. Maybe she didn't like what he said. That's the great thing about Derulo's art. It's ambiguous a lot of the time, mate. My parents, they used to sing to me when I was in the bath. When I was a really little kid, they'd sing the biggest songs from when they were teenagers. They sing like Bob Dylan, like Nina Simone, incredible songwriters. Imagine me, 15 years' time, my kids in the bath. Soldier boy, crank that, oh, whammy, crank that, whammy, oh, whammy. Hey there, Delilah, what's it like in New York City? You're 1,000 miles away. Our songs sucked. I had an interesting experience with music as well because I'm deaf in my left ear. I don't have any hearing in this ear, which doesn't affect my life in any way except for this one thing where when I was a kid, I got an iPod, right? And no one told me that headphones don't distribute equal parts of the song. I thought it was the same shit, just 50% volume on either side. But they split it. Different parts come through each. Different instruments, different lyrics sometimes, full different words. I was just walking around listening to my iPod. For the first 10 years of me hearing it, I only heard the high parts in Bohemian Rhapsody. And everyone was always like, yeah, it's the greatest song of all time. I'm like, yeah, but there's a lot of gaps. Like, it's very good in parts. But it's just weird how they just, Galileo, put something after that, brother. I'm just a poor boy, nobody loves me. I never even knew that he was from a poor family. Ask your family for some cash, Fred. I got iPod when I was about 12 years old. Around that age, a couple years later, right, when I was like 14, I got a job at a supermarket where I lived in Adelaide, supermarket near my house. And I loved that job. I worked there for ages, and I enjoyed chatting to people at that job. I had a favourite customer at this supermarket that I worked at. His name was Mark. I actually hated this guy for a long time. For about a year, I thought he was a prick, right? He'd come in, he was always friendly, but he never remembered me. He never gave me any recognition that he remembered me, but he was a regular customer. He was shopping there every day, and he was never familiar with me. So much so, it was so jarring that I confronted him about it. I'm like 15, and I said to him, I was like, man, you know, you've met me so many times. Like, why don't you remember me? And this is completely true. I've never met anyone before or since with this condition. He told me that he had amnesia. He forgets every interaction that he has. He can remember other things, like how to get around, like tasks, like, you know, skills, shit like that. He can remember all that. He can't remember faces and conversations. If you chat with him, he will forget it. He might remember it for an hour. He might remember it for a day. But in the next couple days, at some point, he will definitely forget it. I became kind of obsessed with thinking about like how this guy's life would look. He was also such a nice dude. He'd always, at the end of every chat, I'd say, have a good day. And he'd always say, every day is a good day, which is like such a bullshit scripted phrase. But when he said it, it felt genuine. It felt authentic. It felt like he was saying it for the first time, which maybe, I guess, in a way, he kind of was. One time I saw him at the local library. I was printing shit off and I was really stressed. I remember feeling stressed. I was like 15. I don't know why I was stressed when I was 15, but I was for some reason. suddenly I heard piano playing, right? And it was such good piano that I thought the library staff had put a CD on. I thought they'd chucked in like Chopin's Greatest Hits or some shit. I turned around and at the piano in the library, Mark was playing. Beautiful. His fingers are like flowing over the keys, like just effortless, incredible, like masterful piano. And I sat there and I watched him for 20 minutes. And in that 20 minutes, that's the only place where I was for that 20 minutes. I was just there with him, that piano. I stopped feeling stressed, stopped worrying about whatever I was worrying about, and my whole mood changed. He got up and he left, and I wanted to say something to him. But I just wanted to like thank him for like changing my mood, I guess. But I don't know, it was too off script, too weird, so I didn't do it. And he walked out of there, and no one said anything to him. He just walked out on his own, not knowing that he'd affected anyone's life at all. I always thought, I'll get another chance. I wasn't working at the supermarket anymore, but Adelaide's not that big. I thought I'll bump into him one day, and I'll tell him about that day, and I'll say thank you. And I never did. I just never bumped into him. I never got that chance. Till earlier this year, I was in Adelaide doing a version of this show at the Adelaide Fringe. And one day I was walking around my old neighbourhood where I grew up, and I saw a guy staring at a tree. And yeah, I nearly called the cops. I was like, listening to a true crime podcast at the time, I was like, that guy's the fucking killer for sure. Wait, that's Mark. I recognised him, and I was like, holy shit, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to walk over and say something to this guy. And I did. I walked over, I said hello, I mentioned the tree, we talked about the tree. I picked up a leaf, I said, have you ever noticed that the leaves have drawings of trees on them? He said, that's a crazy observation, that's incredible. I said, yeah, that's one of mine, I thought of that. And then I told him about the library thing, and he looked happy, but then he kind of looked embarrassed. He looked almost panicked, and he had this backpack on. He was like, I'm really sorry. He got his backpack down. He was like, can you please just stay there for a second? And he unzipped his backpack. He pulled out this big notebook. He starts writing in the notebook. He's like quite panicked. He's like, I'm sorry, I know this is really weird. Just please stay there for a second. And at that stage, I told him that I knew him. I was like, Mark, I've met you heaps of times. I know all about the memory thing, but I don't know about this notebook. What's the deal with this notebook? And he said, whenever he has a meaningful interaction, he writes it down, and then at night, he reads all of those to himself before he goes to sleep so that he knows he's having a life with connections in it. And yes, it's beautiful, right? We hugged in the street. I got real emotional. We chatted for a bit longer, and then we eventually went our separate ways, and I was touched by that. And then I thought to myself, fuck, that's the first time he's ever got the notebook out for me. I don't want to be petty, like, I'm not offended, but it's pretty crazy. Like, I've probably chatted to this guy over 100 times, I reckon. And every single chat, he's just gone, I don't need to remember that, that's fine. What a review. But that's what I want to have. I want to have notebook-worthy interactions. And it's hard to do. It's hard to talk to people on the street. You're the weird person if you do that. There's less reasons to do it. Everyone's vaping. You can't ask for a lighter. Everyone's on Google Maps. You can't ask for directions. We're all on Google Maps. Google Maps is becoming more optimized. I've been thinking about this. It's freaking me out how good Google Maps is getting. It's streamlined. Because Google knows everything about us. It knows our patterns. It knows where we go, who we hang out with, what we search and say online, how long we hang out with our friends for. Google knows everything. Google knows our dreams, our drives, our passions. Google knows our fears, our insecurity. I reckon Google knows our trauma by this stage. And I reckon it's only a matter of time till they start putting that shit into Google Maps. Do you know what I mean? Really optimise your journey. Turn left to avoid the IKEA you had a panic attack in 4 years ago. You are now on the least triggering route. Cool, wasn't it? At the roundabout, reflect on why you struggle to hold down a long-term relationship. At the intersection, turn left or right. Make a decision. Commit to the decision. Don't be afraid of commitment. You're like, yeah, but where's Bunnings? Google Maps will become our therapist. I'm trying to buy a chair off Facebook Marketplace in Dandenong. Google Maps is making me restructure thought patterns that I've had since I was a fucking kid. You pull up at the lights. You're afraid of conflict, Lewis. You need to get better at dealing with small moments of conflict. Don't be scared of them. Beep the car in front of you. But we're all on Google Maps, so it's talking to the car in front. You need to work on your rage, Darren. If the car behind you beeps, which I think it will, try not to bash the shit out of it. It should know it should know enough. It should be preempting shit by this stage. I would actually like that. Like sometimes if I do comedy, if I have a bad set, it's pretty like regular pattern. I'll go to McDonald's, I eat McDonald's, right? But I'll be driving home and that won't be the plan. And Google Maps is directing me. I'll go in there. Please proceed to the route. You heard what happened tonight, Google. You're listening to us. This is the fucking route now. Do you know what I mean? I shouldn't even have to pay. It should already be direct debited from my Google account. I should be able to just pull up to the window, not even make eye contact, grab my meal, drive into the car park, eat while I cry, while you say something like, don't worry, this is just a small detour on your road to happiness. That's where we're heading and I can't wait. I pulled into my Macca's drive-through the other night after a comedy show. My Macca's, my local McDonald's, is next door to a brothel. This is just a weird fact about my McDonald's. Some of you might know it, it's in Melbourne. It's just a weird combination of buildings to be right next to each other. Because like, if I go to Macca's, right, I get my Macca's, I drive into the car park, I stay in the car park, I eat in the car park. I like to keep it within the walls, do you know what I mean? I don't like to bring my Macca's back out into the everyday world. I like to keep the shame in that sort of area. Keep it in-house. But it's just weird at my McDonald's because if you do that, you are doing that, but you are also just sitting outside a brothel in your car. Both those things are true at the same time. So you feel self-conscious, obviously. But it's interesting in 2024 because sex work's becoming less demonised in society over time. Gradually it's becoming, and it's probably good, it probably means sex workers are more safe, but it's becoming less taboo to be a sex worker, to see a sex worker. And at the same time, McDonald's is probably getting more scrutinised over time. People are aware they're a dodgy corporation. It's almost reaching a tipping point, do you know what I mean? I reckon on the graph, they've almost crossed. I reckon it's become more shameful. If I bump into someone I know in that scenario, I'm going to drop the burger and be like, don't worry, I'm paying for sex. I'm not getting a happy meal, I'm getting a happy ending, I swear to God. But I pulled into the drive-through the other night and I was tired. I ordered a quarter pounder and pulled up to the window. As I pull up to the window, right, this teenage kid behind the window, he leans out, this, no exaggeration, with this level of enthusiasm, he goes, wow, you're the third car in a row to order a quarter pounder. Which is just like, what do you say to that? Am I sick? Nice. I love that he's that G'd up by 3 quarter pounders. Really shows how boring his job is to be that excited by 3, not 11 in a row, 3. 3's a pretty small number, isn't it? It's the third smallest number. 3's the smallest pattern there can be. Like 1's 1, 2's 2, 3's a pattern. As soon as it became a pattern, he was like, can you believe this? I like to think about his trajectory, you know, because at some point he's on 0, right? It's just a normal day at that point, isn't it? Just a normal day at Macca's. Then he gets 1 quarter pounder. I'm assuming he doesn't react to 1. That'd be quite weird. So he gets 1, no reaction. 2 must be something, right? 2 must be, but you can't give much for 2. It's just 2, do you know what I mean? It can't be that animated. It's got, I reckon max that he would give away for 2 as like a reaction, he'd go, 2 in a row. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's where, so from 2 in a row, to, wow, you're the third car, that's a huge jump. That's like 6 quarter pounders worth of like enthusiasm level jumped. Makes you think maybe something else was going on. Maybe there's more to the story. Maybe this kid was crunching numbers. He had a spreadsheet up in this booth. He's doing advanced numerology. It was 2 Big Macs, 1 hash brown, 3 quarter pounders directly corresponds with Fibonacci's sequence. Maybe he'd cracked some code. I never found out because I was still in script mode. Sometimes when someone changes the script on you without warning, you don't really know what to say and something just comes out of your mouth. He said that and I went, yeah, quarter pounder, pound time. You know when you have those moments where you're just like, what the fuck did I just say? I just yelled pound time at a teenager. In his head, he's like, that guy's definitely just come from the brothel, hasn't he? I had one at a petrol station. I was buying petrol the other day off a blokey bloke, right? The guy serving me at the petrol station, he was the epitome of a fucking blokey fucking bloke, you know? Blokey fucking, yeah, mate, fucking blah, fuck yeah, mate. They love a script, those dudes. They fucking love a script. Fucking footy, fucking cool change. Fucking alternator's fucked. Always the alternator. Not even a machine that you're discussing. That's my dog, Daryl. They're good with machines. I'm not saying that as a diss. I respect it, you know, and they're helpful. If you don't know the sort of dudes that I'm talking about, break down on the side of the road. 3 of them will appear straight away. You need a hand, mate? You need a hand? I don't know how they know so quickly. They must get a notification or some shit. They're like sharks sniffing blood in the water. Flat tyre on Moreland Road. Got to go emasculate a hipster, and then they just do. And they do. I think blokes like that get criticised for not being progressive, and maybe there's some truth in that. I don't know. I don't want to do that. I think that we forget some of the great things that blokes like that do. Like the speeding camera warning. If you're out in the country, you drive up to a speeding camera, right? There's a mobile speeding camera set up. If one of those blokes has driven past that speeding camera in the opposite direction, he will warn you. He will flash his lights no matter what. It's programmed in. It's part of their fucking script. So, like too much, if anything. 100 Ks past, still warning people. Just confusing them at that stage. And I think it's beautiful. And also, I think it's inclusive. Like, you don't know who's in that car that you're warning. Could be anyone. Any gender, sexuality, different racial background to you, different politics, and you put all that aside because fuck the cops. And I think that's so beautiful. It genuinely warms my heart. He was one of these guys, right? And I paid for my petrol, and that was all sweet. And then I went to leave. As I'm walking out, he yells out, right? He goes, I grabbed a drink as I was about to leave and went back over to the counter. So I've returned. And as I returned to him, as I walked back over, he goes, "Oh, back again," right? Which is fun, but it's in the script. We've all heard it before. I bought the drink and then I went to leave again. This time I saw a pair of sunnies. I was like, I want them. So I grabbed them, went back over to him. And this time, when I returned, he goes, "Oh, you just can't get enough, eh?" Which again, it's like fun or quirky or whatever, but it's in the script. And I tried to just hit back something similar. You know when you do that? Just, oh yeah, I'll get on his level. This was my joke, this was my one. I went, yeah, brother, just so lonely. Any excuse for interactions. Did not land. Cannot express how much it didn't land. The rest of the interaction took place in silence. And then as I turned to leave, he said to me, "Good luck." So I feel like that gives you an idea. I love those moments. I think, right, when I'm out in the world, sometimes you have one where you're awkward and you fuck it up. Other times you have one where you try to help someone and they don't want your help, they don't want your interaction, whatever, they reject you. And I think those moments, they really deter you from doing it in the future. Like my ex-girlfriend and I, we were driving across far north Queensland, right? We're in the middle of nowhere, we're in like a big road trip. And as we're driving along, we saw a dude standing on the side of the road. I'd never picked up a hitchhiker, she'd never picked up a hitchhiker, but we were in the middle of nowhere. We hadn't seen a car all day. This guy had no other option. It was really hot and we decided we've got to do the right thing here. He's got no option. So we pulled over. We were kind of excited, you know. We were like, "Mate, where are you going?" He said, "Townsville." We said, "We're going to Townsville. We can take you to Townsville." He paused for a few seconds and went, "Actually, I think I'm all good." What? It's honestly the most offensive thing anyone's ever said to me. I don't know if any of you have ever found out that you look like a serial killer, but it's a pretty weird thing to be inadvertently told. It also just caused the weirdest argument between my girlfriend and I. We spent the next 2 hours of that drive just arguing about which one of us it was that caused him to say that. And I'm not going to say that it was that argument that ended our relationship, but I don't think me telling her that she had beady, suspicious eyes strengthened our bond. Fuck that prick, it was so rude of him. I didn't even regret going back there and killing him. Fuck him. I'm having a lot of fun. Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying this right now. It's good. It's good energy. Thank you. Thank you, that's lovely. That's funny, isn't it? Can you guys see that? That's fun. I think that's funny. Imagine that, you just laugh so hard that you're like, actually, I'm going to mosh. We probably don't need those tonight, but they're quite bold, aren't they? It's really like safety first. You never know. Having a really good time, thank you. I went to, me and my friends, we went to a hippie music festival recently. We went to this proper hippie music festival in search of off-script, authentic interactions, which was misguided. But We had a really good time. I want to tell you about the time we had, because we had a really good time, right? Me and my friends, we did so much ketamine that we started to feel weird when we weren't on ketamine. How crazy is that? The ketamine would start wearing off. We'd be like, whoa, something's kicking in. Oh no, that's my actual brain. Welcome back. If you've never done ketamine before, I don't want to alienate the crowd, so I'll tell you what it's like. Although, I mean, in Melbourne, I don't know if this explainer is that necessary, but it's like, this is what it feels like, this drug. It feels like, for me, it's like, you know when you're in your house, right, and you're sober, and you think to yourself, I'm going to go grab something from my room. So you think that thought, and you're like, I'm going to go grab my water bottle. And then you walk through your house to do that. But something happens on that walk. I don't know what happens, but something happens. And then you step foot into your room, and straight away you're just like, why did I come in here? Who am I? That's, if you want to feel like that for a longer period of time, do ketamine. That's exactly what it feels like. We're moving around the festival in that state, right? We're enjoying it, but we're in that hazy state. We went into this big tent. We walked into this big tent, and we started talking to this hippie dude called Mikkel, hippie dude from Germany. And he was telling us about astral projection. And I was listening, right? Because I love a lot of the hippie shit. Like, I'm quite into the hippie jargon. Like, I think with the hippie stuff, it's like, I'm in, and then I'm out. Do you know what I mean? It's like the trees are talking to each other. I like that. That's cool. We need more love in the world. I agree, 100%. That's why you should buy my crystal for $60. That one feels different to the other two, doesn't it? Distinctly. But I'm listening, I'm into it, and this guy's got the floor, Mikkel. He's talking to us all about astral projection. He's excited, telling us about it. I'd never heard of it before. Some people might have heard of it before. This is what he described it. He's like, there's this other realm, right? And you can enter this realm. You can leave your body, float up into this world, and look down on your own body and move around, right? Apparently anyone can do this, he said. Anyone. If you just like meditate in the right way, lucid dreaming, or take exactly the right amount of ketamine, anyone can enter that plane. And he said he'd been there, and when he was there, right, he met a spirit. And he'd read online on Reddit, which is really reliable, that if you meet a spirit in the astral projection world, this is true apparently, if you bump into a spirit up there, if you ask them for something 3 times, that thing will come true in the material world, 100%. Maybe that's why the guy at Macca's was so pumped about 3/4 pounders. He just found out he's a spirit in the astral projection world. I'd be excited too. Mikkel didn't have any money. He was broke at the time when he went in. He didn't have any money. So he met this spirit and he asked them 3 times, can I have financial security? And at this point in telling us the story, he paused for dramatic effect. And then he said, and guess what? 6 months later, I was rich. And we were like, whoa, how? How did you make that money? And he was like, drug dealing. And it was at that point that I remembered why we'd started talking to this guy in the first place. That's why we came in this tent. Can we have some ketamine? Can we have some ketamine? Can we have some ketamine? The hippies told us to get off our phones. That was one of the big takeaways. Stop looking at your phone. I resonated with that. My phone addiction has gotten so bad. This is something I do lately, right? I'll sit at home, I'll look at my phone for hours, and then I'll think to myself, enough's enough, Lewis. I'll put my phone down and watch a movie. It's just weird, isn't it? Like, the movie has become the wellness retreat. Have you noticed that? That's like the meditative act. The other day, I watched Terminator 2 start to finish without looking at my phone. I felt like I'd read Ulysses. I was genuinely proud. But when I was a kid, the movies were the thing that were rotting our brain. Everyone was like, put that movie down, go read a book. I wonder if before that, people said the same shit about books. Written language first comes about. Put that parchment down, Greg. You're always staring at that scribble on that parchment. Look, we're doing a dance circle. Watch the dance circle. Remember the good old days you used to focus on the dance circle? Before that, people said the same shit about dance circles. We're always looking at these dance circles. Why? We just can't take our eyes off these dance. Remember the good old days? The simple times? We used to just stare at the fire. Before that, people said the same shit about fires. You're rotting your brain with that fire, Gracie. You've been staring at it for 6 hours. It's too much fire time. Before that, what were we looking at then? We're just looking at the tree. The only thing we had back then was the trees. Just us, before that, just staring at trees. And we've become so far detached from that that the only person still doing that can't remember what they fucking look like. And I think that says a lot. Can't decide what to watch, can't decide what movie to watch, can't focus on the movie either. That's because of my phone. I have to watch every movie with captions now because my attention span's so bad. The captions wreck the movie. I'm watching a couple break up. Matthew McConaughey and this woman, they're like breaking up, right? And she's like, if you walk out that door, we're done. And I'm thinking, he's not going to go. Caption says door opens. Fuck. What the fuck? And I can't decide on anything. Like, I feel like people who are older than me, my parents' generation, they just made decisions, didn't they? They weren't crippled by... There's a phrase for it. We've got a phrase, decision fatigue. Decision fatigue. We can't even decide. My parents' generation, they just fucking married the first person they met. I'm envious of that. You ask my parents why they got married, they don't even fucking understand the question. They're like, we both worked at a pub. What? I can't decide between nachos, India. I can't decide what I want to eat. I was sitting at home. I ordered Uber Eats, right? And it took me so long. It took me an hour to decide. And by that stage, I was starving. So I placed the order, and now I'm just thinking about the Uber Eats. I'm at home. I'm on the couch with my partner. We're watching a movie, but I'm not watching the movie. Captions are on, but I'm still not focusing. I'm thinking, where is that food? This is a true story. After about an hour, we heard all this commotion from outside, banging and crashing and yelling. And I went to the front door, and I opened the front door, and as I open it, the Uber Eats delivery driver, he kind of arrives on my doorstep. He like steps onto the doorstep as I open it. He starts talking straight away. He's like, man, I'm so sorry. I went to your next door neighbour's house by accident, and I think they must have got a fright because they started screaming at me. They were yelling and banging on the door and swearing, and it really scared me. I think I'm shaking. And I looked at his arm, and it was shaking. This dude's like younger than me. He keeps talking. He's like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. I've only been doing this job for 3 days. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I nearly got hit by a car today. I'm just really stressed. I'm in silk boxer shorts, no t-shirt. I start hugging the dude, right? But then my girlfriend comes down the corridor, but she hasn't heard any of that. So she just sees me hugging this dude. She's like, is this part of what you ordered? But then he explains it to her, and straight away she went off script. She was like, you got to come inside for a cup of tea. And I felt weird about that. I know I shouldn't, but I did. I was like happy to give up the emotional support on the doorstep. Crossing the threshold felt like too much of a commitment. What if it's awkward? What if I say something embarrassing? What if he rejects us? Last time I tried to pick up a hitchhiker, it didn't go that well. I had my walls up. But she insisted, and then he came in, and he walked in, and his name was Dimitra. We sat down, we all had a cup of tea together. I could feel in the beginning I was still in script mode. He said that he was from Sri Lanka. I asked him if he liked cricket, which is classic white Aussie male script bullshit. He was like, no, I don't like cricket. And then I remember, I was like, fuck, neither do I, man. I don't know why I asked. And then the three of us all bonded over how much we all hate cricket. We started workshopping a way that cricket could be a more exciting game. We decided that every cricket team, every nationality should be able to release one native animal onto the field to fuck with the batters while they're trying to bat. We figured it all out. Australia could have a crocodile, India would have a tiger. We realised England don't really have any big apex predators. They've sort of wiped them all out. We thought they could have a coloniser. That was Dimitra's idea. Just some prick with a fucking bayonet and a compass, some nerd. There was one awkward moment. Sometimes when you go off script, there's awkward shit. This was the only awkward moment of the thing, right? At one stage, Dimitra, he said, he was telling us about what he used to do for work back in Sri Lanka. He worked in data protection, and he used to catch scammers, he was telling us. And while he's telling us about that, randomly, out of nowhere, he goes, yeah, scammers, they're all bloody Indians. Which is awkward, because me and my girlfriend, we're white, you know? And I just don't really reckon it's our place to be like, hey man, go easy on the Indian community. To a Sri Lankan dude. But also, obviously, you can't be like, yeah, fuck the Indians, huh? So you just sort of have to be like, don't know. I don't know, man, not sure. Just paralysed. That was the only awkward moment. Other than that, it was like a beautiful interaction. We were laughing, we were joking, we were having fun. After half an hour, he got up and he went to leave. On his way out, we all hugged, we exchanged numbers. He said, thanks so much, I didn't realise how much I needed that. And I felt like saying, I didn't realise how much I needed that. I didn't realise how much I needed an authentic, off-script interaction with a stranger. And after he left, I said that. I said, I've got to be better at connecting with people in this world. This guy brought me food. He was having a breakdown. I didn't want to let him in for a cup of tea. That's not right. Back in the day, when we were staring at trees, if someone brought food to your tribe, you'd hail them like a god. This guy's bringing me my sustenance, and I didn't even want to give him a cup of tea. I've got to be better at connecting with people. But after I said all that, I opened my food, and it was cold by then. So I gave him 0 stars, obviously. If I ever meet an Indian person and they go, oh, you know, bloody Sri Lankans, I'm going to go, yeah, fuck the Sri Lankans, mate. And we gave him 5 stars. I've never left a written review for anything, but we wrote a review. We were like, he's an amazing, beautiful person, like way too far. People are going to read it and be like, I just wanted a burger. This sounds intense. It might seem like an insignificant story to end a show on, but when that happened that night, I remember thinking to myself, if I had amnesia, that's the sort of shit I would write about in my notebook. And I hope that the hour that we've spent together in this room has been somewhat worthy of your metaphorical notebooks. Maybe just in the back, in a margin, lead pencils so that you can rub it out, go over it with something better if you need to. It's been such a joy talking to you, Melbourne. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Melbourne. Go off script, stare at a tree, free Palestine. Thank you, have a good night.